Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We will be starting in just a moment. All right, it looks like everyone's connecting to the webinar. Welcome, everyone. All right, I think we'll get started and then hopefully everyone can hear us. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this special presentation and faculty Q&A featuring our environmental studies major and Professor Tara Ryder. I'm Amanda Mills, Assistant Director of Admissions, and I'll be here to help throughout the evening. We're also joined by Katie behind the scenes, who'll be available to answer questions as well. And we're also very lucky to have joining us current environmental studies major, Sydney, who you'll get to hear from this evening. And we'll be using the Q&A after the presentation to answer your important questions on this topic. And while we won't be discussing general requirements for admission, if you need clarification on our admission process, please attend one of our live information sessions offered virtually, where a counselor and a student will review the application process, deadlines and policies, and provide details about student life, living on campus, and student support. I'll post those links in the chat, as well as other things you may want to bookmark to take a look at later. This session is being recorded and will be available to watch on our YouTube page, and I'll post that link for you as well. Now, please join me in welcoming our guest this evening, Tara.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tara Ryder. I am the Faculty Director for Environmental Studies. And this is a really exciting major that I am happy to be a part of and to hopefully get to know all of you. Amanda, could you go to the next slide? So one of the things I want you to think about is this major is very broad in many ways. We are preparing students to look at really kind of complex problems through the lens of science, through looking at legal policies, political ideas, socioeconomic and ethical lenses, so that we can come up with innovative solutions to what are often very old problems. When you look at our curriculum, which you can see on the webpage, it is very interdisciplinary, and we're pulling from the social sciences, from engineering, from the natural sciences, and from the humanities. And students will end up getting a Bachelor's of Arts degree. Now, in our major, you do have 3 concentrations. And so students will pick one of those concentrations to focus on as they go forward. And you can see the 3 concentrations up here are conservation biology and biological anthropology. The second concentration is marine science or marine or terrestrial ecology. And then our third one is environmental law, waste management, and public policy. And these 3 concentrations allow students to focus on those topics that are of interest to them. Now, the question often comes about of how do I know which concentration to go with? Well, when you look at how our program is set up, students will start with foundation and core classes that introduce a lot of these broad ideas. And as they start to get introduced to them, they can figure out which ones that maybe they're more interested in studying. So if we could go to our next slide. One of the things that I want us to think about, and we're going to talk a little bit more about, is how students get experience, because ultimately we want our students to learn, to gain experience so that they can go out into the world and be part of environmental change. And so we have students who are going to do internships and research. So if you look at the requirements for environmental studies, all of our students have to take at least 2 credits of either an internship or research in order to get hands-on practical experience in the field. It also allows for things like networking. Many of my students have done an internship and have then gone on to work for those companies. This is also a way to get references as they're going on in their professional fields after they graduate, or even going on into graduate school. And so what I have up here are some of the fields our graduates go on to work in. So you'll find that there are sea wolves who have environmental studies degrees that work in the national parks, our state parks, in recreation historic preservation. They work in planning and policy fields. So they will be helping to create some of the policies concerning water usage, concerning energy usage at local levels, all the way up to a federal level. I have students who work in wildlife conservation. Many of our students also go on to work into health science fields, looking at the relationship between health and environment. And they can go directly into many of these fields, but we also have students who choose to go and do graduate work. And you'll find students at our local universities like New York University, Columbia. They go to places like Ohio State. They go on to law school. And many of our students even go on to international programs to give kind of a more global experience to their knowledge. Um, and it is something to keep in mind that we have students who, when they're doing their internships and they're doing the research, they are working with the faculty here at Stony Brook on projects that are related to climate, to conservation, to bioacoustics, ecological restoration. And this is one of the benefits of Stony Brook as a top-tiered research university, is that they get to have this opportunity to work in these research fields. If you could go on to the next slide, please, Amanda. You will find that a key component of the environmental studies major, and actually all of our majors at the School of Marine and Atmospheric Science, is the fact that we want our students to take the knowledge that they're learning in the classroom and apply it. So experiential learning is an integral part of the environmental studies program. And it's more than simply learning by doing. It's about applying the concepts that students have learned to real situations. And there's lots of different ways that this is incorporated into our courses. We have opportunities for students to do research, and I'm going to let Sydney in a few minutes talk a little bit more about some of this, but we have an ecotoxicology lab that is fondly known as the worm lab. And that's where students are exploring the impact of pesticides on soil and obviously on worms as well. We have classes where students are looking at kind of working on integrative collaborative systems. So Sydney is also involved in this particular project, but she is helping both the Peconic Estuary Partnership and New York Sea Grant to move forward on a initiative voted to basically untangling hurdles related to shoreline adaptation. So students are getting the chance to make concrete changes even while they're still in their studies here. And there's lots of different ways that experiential learning is built into these courses. You'll have, as I said, kind of a interdisciplinary background when you look at your core classes, your foundation classes. So some of those classes will be lab classes, such as taking chemistry, taking biological labs. Some of them will be policy based as well. And we also have lots of different ways to incorporate additional experiential learning into the major. If you could go to the next slide, Amanda. One of the ones that is quite popular that we often hear a lot about is Semester by the Sea. And I am very lucky to be part of the faculty with the Semester by the Sea program, which is based out at the Stony Brook Southampton campus. And this is an immersive experience in marine science for our students. They typically do live out at Southampton, but they don't have to. We have students who commute from the West Campus here in Stony Brook out to Southampton. And there they get to take full advantage of our local coastal environment. We have a marine station, we have several research vessels, where they get to explore coastal and offshore marine habitats, marine organisms, maritime cultural sites. And students will get the chance to do coastal ecological restoration programs. As you can see from our smiling student in the middle, several of them will get the chance to study turtle and seal rehabilitation, and even get the chance from, based on that class, to do internships working with these animals with the New York Marine Rescue Center. One of the great benefits to Semester by the Sea, and actually to SOMAS as a whole, is how many connections and networks that we have created with our local community, so that students have the opportunity to work not only with faculty here on campus, but also beyond campus during those internships. So if you could go to the next slide. One of the other wonderful things about Stony Brook and about environmental studies and SOMAS is the amazing study abroad opportunities. And I want to be very clear, there is no bias here, even though I'm involved in several of these programs, but it is an incredible way to apply what you're learning here in New York and Long Island and really start to see what the similarities and the differences are when you go beyond those communities and get a global study. So we have programs that are really specific to environmental studies and to the School of Marine and Atmospheric Science. And we have programs in Tanzania where you can study society, health, and environment. We have a winter program to Jamaica where you can study tropical ecology at the Discovery Bay Marine Lab. The Ireland and England program, we look at environmental issues, both in the historically as well as in the present, and think about what the relationship is and what are the options going on there. We've had programs in Cuba where they looked at sustainability through the lens of food production. We also do have other programs where students at an upper level can gain graduate credits by going to the Bahamas. We have students who have studied in Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands, who've gone to Turkana Basin in Kenya, who have gone to Madagascar. So there's an amazing opportunity in which students can study abroad. They can get not only the SBC general education requirements out of the way, they can also fulfill major requirements. And again, one of the things to keep in mind is getting that chance to study abroad really sets you on a path that differentiates you from other people in your field. So when you're thinking about graduate school, when you're applying for jobs after you graduate. If you could go to the next slide as well, Amanda. One of the other things to keep in mind is we want students to be involved. We want students to get to know each other as much as getting to know those beyond the campus. And we are very lucky that we have some very active clubs that are part of the School of Marine and Atmospheric Science, and that many of my environmental students are involved in. We have the Environmental Club, which Sydney, I think, is probably going to mention as well, since she's been heavily involved in that. We have the Marine Science Club, where they do beach cleanups, trips to aquariums. They talk about getting involved in research. We have the Meteorological Club. We have the Sierra Club, where they go out and explore and also help to protect some of our wild places. We have Society for Women in Marine Science. We have a Greenhouse Guild. And you don't have to be majoring in marine science or majoring in atmospheric sciences to be part of these clubs. This is how we form networks, and we start to see kind of the interdisciplinary nature of environmental studies really kind of coming out at this point. So what I'd like to do is go to the next slide and really say it's the end of me talking, because I think I can do best by answering your questions. But what I'd really like to do before that is introduce Sydney. So I'm very lucky to have Sydney as one of my upperclassmen. She's an environmental studies student who can talk about some of these experiences really from a student perspective. So Sydney, would you maybe introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. So I'm a fourth year environmental studies student. I have a concentration in it's the environmental law policy and waste management. So the third one that we had on that slide. And I really liked that concentration. I picked it because I really liked the classes within it. It had a mix of like humanities type things. So I've done like environmental sociology, environmental philosophy, environmental law, so a bunch of different things. That's my concentration. I'll first start with the shorelines class that I'm in with Dr. Ryder. We just had that earlier today. It's like a capstone prep class, like a systems class, but each semester you work on a project that is outside of the class. So in the fall, it's a different professor teaching it, so it's more of like urban planning focused. Whereas in the spring with Dr. Ryder, we've been working on shoreline restoration and protection measures. So I really like that class. I love classes that reach outside of just a regular lecture. As Dr. Ryder mentioned, I'm also part of the Worm Lab, or the ecotoxicology lab. And if you don't know what ecotoxicology is, I explain it to people as you take a toxin and you take an organism and you put them together and you kind of see what happens. And it's really cool. I've been involved with that for like 2 years now. So I went from being in the lab and being under a lab leader, which the lab leaders are all students as well, which is really cool. It's like the first class I've been in where you get to really design your own experiment from the bottom up. It's not like there's a protocol already given to you and the professor knows what the answer is going to be and you have to match that. Like, you really make your own directions and you follow that and you'll see what happens. And it's really cool. And at the end of the spring semesters, we present at a symposium with big posters. So you get like a lot of experience for all parts of the scientific process. And this semester, I'm actually mentoring first year students in the Worm Lab. So those are students that for their freshman seminar in their spring semester, they got to choose to be part of the Worm Lab. So you can do that too if you want to. So I really enjoy teaching people what I've learned over the last like year and a half, 2 years in the lab. My third like experiential learning type thing. Oh, the Worm Lab is also what I did for my credits that I needed for like experiential learning for my major. So I used like 2 or 3 credits for that. So I've also studied abroad. I just studied abroad this past winter in Ecuador and the Galapagos. I knew that I wanted to study abroad since I first came into Stony Brook. And so I really like researched and saw which one I wanted to do. And this one was very like environmental based. So we spent like a week in Ecuador in the capital. It's called Quito. And then we went to a rainforest, and then we went over to the Galapagos Islands and saw all the endemic species, and it was really cool. It was all about sustainable development. I loved it. I wish I could go back. Um, and for my last thing that's like Stony Brook experiential that I've done is Environmental Club. Environmental Club was really my door open to everything else that I've done. I joined it my freshman year. When there weren't many clubs like meeting in person, it started online. So, but even though it was online, it really made me feel like included in the community. Because it was hard to make friends as a freshman, and while there's a lot of online classes, they made me feel so welcome. And so I ran for the executive board of the club, and I was secretary for 2 years, and I loved it. And now I'm co-president in the club, and it just feels like a rite of passage. Like, I love it so much. It's connected me to so many people, like the environmental community, but also people outside of that. We have general body meetings every Wednesday, and we do like crafts and debates and educational things and documentary nights. So all different fun stuff. And then we have weekend events as well, where we alternate between like campus cleanups, so you can get community service hours, but also off-campus trips, so we can get into the local community. We've gone to like the Fridays for Future protest in the city and all different fun stuff. And then for outside of like Stony Brook, I've been an intern at 2 different places. One was a local environmental nonprofit, and I was like an environmental educator for like 10 to 16-year-olds. And so that was really cool. I did that for 1 summer. And then this past summer, I got an internship. It's called Green Teams. It's in New Jersey. Dr. Ryder's also like connected with that as well. She's connected with a lot of the things I do. And that that really gave me the opportunity to work within a cohort of like, there's like 50 of us undergrads. But within each team, it's 5 of us, and we work with a different company. So I worked with NJ Transit, and it gives you experience being almost like an environmental consultant. So they tell you what you want, what they want, and then you go through the whole summer and you work on those things and you present it at the end. You get really good at like science communication and all types of communication. So those are my 2 internships. And then my last thing is I was a New York Marine Rescue Center volunteer over the winter before this past winter. So there's like semester by the sea stuff, and that stuff you get to work with marine science things, but you could also be a volunteer. I did almost 40 hours with them and just really educate people. You get trainings for like sea turtle strandings if they get too cold, and bringing them to the rescue center. So I did a little bit of that. So I really like every chance I get. You only have to do those 2 or 3 credits for your major, but really every chance I've gotten, like every winter and summer that I can, I always try to do something and try something out as part of my like that like goes along with my major, because I don't really know exactly what I want to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but a good way to figure out is to try different things. So I tried to do as much as possible to narrow it down. So now I'm starting to apply for jobs, and that's been a scary process, but it's going well, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. That's that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney. The biggest thing I can say to any student is come in and get involved right from the beginning. Don't be afraid to ask questions of your professors, get to know each other. These are networks that you are creating that will last a lifetime. But again, the best way to learn is to do. And so there's lots of different ways to do that. You can do it through clubs, you can do it through coursework, you can do it through internships, through research. And there are opportunities for students from the beginning. You don't have to wait until you're a junior or senior to do an internship, to join a research lab. You can quite often start earlier than that. Volunteer opportunities are available at different places. So I do know that we have some questions coming up. I can see them in the Q&A. So let me see if I can at least answer a couple of these.
And actually, I just wanted to follow up with Sydney first, because I know I read applications for admissions, and I remember when I knew you were joining us, so I looked to see, and you had a lot of options, I'm sure, about where to go to college. You were an excellent student, and you're also from Long Island. So had you thought about, going away versus staying home? Did you live on campus? Like, how did you kind of navigate that decision process?
Yeah,
If you
sure.
remember back in, COVID lockdown times when you were applying.
Right. Yeah. So I live at home. I've been a commuter my last 4 years, and I tell every student that I can, like, if I'm a commuter and I can be involved, and I know you can be involved, and it's been a life changer. And what really helped me decide what I wanted to do, because I was looking at other SUNY schools as well, because they're like the most in budget for a lot of students, especially New York residents. Was I was looking at upstate schools, and I was able to tour before lockdown hit, which was very nice. I'm glad I got to do that right beforehand. And it was really for me, I live like around 20 minutes away from the school. And it had like a whole department for environmental, like you have all of SOMAS. So I didn't really know exactly which major I wanted within SOMAS, but I knew I wanted some sort of environmental major. So it had options for me, and it was a larger school, and I liked how many people I would probably be able to meet. And I also had the option of commuting or dorming, which I wouldn't have at other schools, which I really liked, because I could either I can be an RA and live on campus and pay for it that way, or I can save some money by commuting, and that's been very doable for me. So that's part of the reason why for that department and for the commuter reason.
Thank you. Yeah, I always think, if I were applying to college now and I got to hear from someone who's graduating, like, well, how did you make the decision in the first place? Because it's a big step, both where to apply to college, but then once you have your choices, to kind of navigate that decision and then to come out and have gone through the process and be at this point, is, I think, really good for our audience to hear. We have a question about, so if you're an environmental studies major at Stony Brook with a concentration in marine science, how different is that than marine science as a major? And are the occupational outcomes different or job prospects?
So the key difference between environmental studies with a marine science concentration and just being a marine science major is you're going to get a little bit more of an interdisciplinary background. So you're going to get a little bit more of the politics side, the socioeconomic side. You do take classes within the natural sciences, but you're taking kind of a broader social sciences and humanities. Students with a marine science concentration go on to work in aquariums. They go on to work at places like the New York Marine Rescue Center. They will go on quite often to work in places like Discovery Cove down in Florida, working with rehabilitation, conservation. They also will at times go more into the policy side as well. Compared to the marine science, there's often, at least at the entry level, they're often going to be going in the same direction. For graduate school, they may need to take a couple additional classes if they're seeking to, say, do a PhD in marine science, but many of my environmental studies students with a marine science concentration actually go on to get masters in like marine conservation and policy, which is a program we offer here at Stony Brook. And so many of our students will continue to work in that field. So there is quite a bit of overlap. It's just that they do not need as intensive of the natural sciences. So they don't have to take some of the upper level chemistries. They don't necessarily have to do calculus. So again, kind of working with where their strengths are. I personally like it because I do like the fact that it's interdisciplinary. And I think that's really important when we're thinking about some of the marine environmental solutions. And my background is in the marine environment. So I really enjoy that we have a concentration with that.
And so we have a question about percentages, which are always, I think, challenging because I don't know if we kind of keep those types of statistics, but they want to know the percentage of students who go to graduate school. I guess they're asking immediately after graduation, but maybe just in general.
I think that's a little bit of a harder question because many of our students do not go immediately into graduate school. They will often take a gap year or even a couple of years to work in the field so that they can determine exactly what they want to do and what graduate program is right for their career path. I don't have percentages of how many students overall go into the graduate program. I would say talking to students, because I do the advising for the students, probably about half of them will talk about going into graduate school. Again, some of them will be looking to go into graduate school immediately. Many of them are also thinking down the way, what are we looking to do? Because I always tell students, you don't go to graduate school until you know what you want to go for and why you're going for it. So again, that's often based on what their career path is shaping them for.
And I'll post, we have, there's a section of the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences website that has, kind of additional examples of careers in graduate schools and internships. So I'll post that as well. We had a question about scholarships specific to environmental studies. I know I'm posting the link for this general scholarships within SOMAS, but I don't know if any are specific to environmental.
I don't think any of them are specific. They're to SOMAS rather than to specifically the environmental studies major.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah, so I posted that as a response to one of the questions. So for
Just
anyone
as
more.
a comment, because you mentioned scholarships, I do also want to say, I know a lot of students are looking for experiential learning and are thinking about doing global studies and, you know, study abroad. We do have scholarships for that, and some of them are specific to those programs that are part of the SOMAS programs. So one thing to keep in mind is there's lots of different ways to make these opportunities work for you. I do see there's a question about minors being complementary to environmental studies majors. A lot of my students will do kind of a variety of minors. The only minor we don't suggest is marine science, because you can do the marine science concentration, but the only time I don't suggest that is if their concentration is marine science. So a lot of my students will do, if they're not the marine science concentration, may pick that up. The GIS, Geoinformational Sciences, has become a very popular minor. And I do encourage students, because that is a field that works really with any study that you do. I use it in my research. So the ability to do mapping of anything from migration patterns to population studies. We also have a lot of students who I have some students who have a health science minor, because they're interested in the relationship between policy and environment with the health fields. I have students who are minoring in anthropology, atmospheric studies, sustainability studies, environmental studies. The kind of benefit to it is today we recognize all fields do link to the environment. And so again, based on your interests, you can build that into your program.
Yeah, and I could add on a little bit. So I have taken GIS classes. So it's a mapping software, and you put different layers of maps on top of each other. And it's used a lot in the environmental sector. So I've taken 2 classes for that, but I don't have the minor. But I took it for one of my general requirements. So you could do that as well. I also have a few minors in SOMAS that I could speak to if anyone had any questions. I'm in a coastal environmental studies minor, a ecosystems and human impact minor, and a environmental design policy and planning, which is like urban planning. I I kind of fell into some of them. I got some credits done for the coastal environmental studies minor because I was taking those GIS classes, and I got a bunch of credits done for the ecosystems and human impact minor because I was doing the worm lab already. So it kind of already had a bunch done for those 2, and then I still had enough time to do the urban planning minor, which I also really love. And that's another very complimentary one, I would say, especially the urban planning one.
I'll have a lot of students sophomore year come to talk to me about choosing minors then after they've had a bit of an introduction to the core classes and the foundation classes, and they go, this is where I really have some additional interests. What can I do to build on that? So again, minors can be a really great way to develop your interests in your field, kind of building on that information.
And they can be out, you can choose outside. We have 80 minors at Stony Brook. So it could be anthropology or, a language or something completely different as a complement. Maybe language, cultural studies would be a good option depending on where you want to work.
I have several who are in creative writing, and they're looking to kind of work within environmental literature and communication. One of my students who will be soon graduating, she's actually a double major of environmental studies along with art. And again, kind of incorporating those 2 together. So she started as an art major and an environmental science minor, and then went, I think I want a double major. So again, as she pulled in, recognized how she could work those 2 fields together. Okay, there's a question here about when would you have to commit to a specific major? Amanda, you're probably better on the deadlines.
Yeah, so for general admission to Stony Brook, you can apply to either a specific School of Marine and Atmospheric Science major, even if you're not 100% sure. So like if you think you want to study sustainability studies or environmental studies, I recommend just applying to the one that you're most considering. But then once you're a student at Stony Brook, by really the second year or toward the end of your second year, you want to have either changed your major or, kind of definitively, declared a major if it's going to be different, because you want to be on track to graduate. But you'll be able to start either within your major courses, if it's environmental studies, along with your liberal arts core curriculum classes. We call them the Stony Brook curriculum. And those are a wide range of courses that you take, which can also help you solidify what you want to do. The main difference for admission in the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences is that really you want to have pre-calculus, if not calculus, by your senior year in high school for the marine science and marine vertebrate biology majors. All of the other majors, we recommend that you have that, but it's not as strict a requirement. So if math is not, like me, wasn't your kind of favorite or best subject and you struggle with it, you still want to try to take it, but get as much help as you can, because not just taking it, but also, really kind of getting a foundation is important for most of these majors, even though it's not going to be as critical in the admission perspective. But really by your second year in college, you'll want to hopefully have solidified that choice. But changing a major, Sydney, you never changed your major, right? So but changing a major is pretty straightforward. There are some majors at Stony Brook that are restricted, but they're not within the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences. So it would be as simple as meeting with the appropriate faculty and advisors. There's forms to fill out, all the typical things you'd expect, but very, very seamless process.
I was about to say, I've had several students that I've helped that have switched into environmental studies, typically because they realized, let's say, marine science or marine vert had a little bit too much of the heavy math, heavy chemistry, and they said, this isn't our strength, but we love the field of marine science. How can we still work in it? Environmental studies made sense to them. There is a question here about environmental studies. Does animal rights, climate change, and environmentalism in relation to other fields get taught? Because this is an interdisciplinary degree, you're going to hear about those topics in relationships to business, to policy at local levels, at global levels. So all of those are topics that do get touched upon in a variety of classes, especially I will say climate change is a really big one that I think is very hard to avoid in any discussion of environmental issues. But you will see, we talk about animal rights, we talk about ethics as a very important component. We talk about food sustainability, food production. So those are all issues that do get talked in different classes in different ways and from different perspectives, which is really one of the key points, is that when you come out with an environmental studies degree, you have that solid foundation of recognizing not only the scientific kind of discussion, but also how does that apply with society? What is the economic consequences? What are the social costs that come out of these kind of issues?
Yeah, I've taken a bunch of those types of classes in the last 2 years since I've been more specific. In the last few semesters, I've done like specifically environmental, sociology, economics, law, bit of policy. So you get a lot of things through like that environmental lens, and you could do all of that through the major, and then it applies towards your credits. It's really cool. I love those classes.
And talking about classes, a question that comes up all the time, both from prospective students who are in high school, transfer students in smaller colleges, they think about Stony Brook, and we are a larger university system, but SOMAS is small. So can you both talk a little bit about your perspectives on class size at Stony Brook and how Stony Brook and SOMAS specifically kind of approaches class size?
Well, I'll let Sydney answer in a minute, but typically your intro classes, because they are often intro classes, not just for environmental studies students, but are ones that are kind of across fields, do tend to be on the larger sides. The one thing that we also have is in those larger classes, you'll typically have recitations. So you'll have smaller breakout classes that are a smaller group. So if you have a class of 200, you might have a couple of classes where, a couple of meetings where you're only going to meet with, say, 25 to 30 students at a time. The biggest thing I can always say, especially in large classes, because I know they can be intimidating, is not to be afraid to ask questions, but go to office hours. All of the faculty have office hours weekly, and we are here to help you to answer those questions. You'll find in classes where you do have recitations, you often have teaching assistants, and again, going to talk to them because sometimes you just need to hear something explained with different words or a different perspective on that. As you get into your 200 and especially to your 300 and 400 level classes, those classes get smaller. I mainly teach only 300 and 400 level classes, and currently my largest class right now is 35 students, and that's actually considered quite big with SOMAS for a 300 level class. Sydney's class has a whopping total of 14 students in it. So there, as you get into those upper level classes, you get to know each other as well as your faculty even more. Now, one thing we do is in your freshman year, you do take a freshman 102 course. And one of the things is to introduce you to a faculty member who again can be a mentor. So the biggest thing I can say is go talk to your faculty, even in those larger courses. But I'm going to throw this over to Sydney as someone who has gone through this experience.
Yeah, I would agree with like everything that you said. The first like year when you're taking more of those general classes, for the major, I know you need general chemistry, general bio, general physics, and the labs associated, and a little bit of math. When you take those classes, those are general, and so a lot of different majors are using those. But as Dr. Ryder said, you have your recitations, you have your TAs, you can join GroupMe's so that you're in the same group chat as a bunch of other students, so you can ask each other questions. And you get through them and they're all good. And then you get to go to your more specialized classes, and that's really why you're in your major. That's where the fun really starts. And that's where you have your smaller class sizes, probably I would say between like 15 and like 50 students is like the amount for like SOMAS classes, but usually it's around 30, I would say, for any one of my classes. And especially with those like experience type classes, where you're doing stuff instead of just listening to a lecture, you really get to meet your classmates. And you mentioned mentors, like doing the worm lab has introduced me to the professor that leads that. Her name is Dr. Cochran, and she's like one of my mentors that's like I've been with for years, and it really connects you with people, and it's great. It gets to be smaller, and you have those more personal connections.
So I'm seeing a lot of questions. One specifically that I actually don't know the answer to is, can I minor in entomology? And I don't.
As far as I know, we don't have any courses in entomology at Stony Brook. This isn't just within environmental studies. However, I actually have a student who did an internship in entomology at one of the zoos. So it's not to say that you can't get elements of it, but we don't have a minor in it. I do see a question though about like what kind of facilities and resources are available. We actually have so many different opportunities. So we have just looking at kind of research labs. I'm going to kind of start from the marine side. We have the Seawolf, which is our larger research vessel, which is based out here on the North Shore out of Port Jefferson. But we also have 3 research vessels out in Southampton, as well as a couple of smaller crafts. And we have a relatively new $7 million marine research center that allows students and faculty to do research out there We have with the boats, you can go out. I have students who do seal counts. They get to go trawling, they get to do sampling of all kinds of different types. We have any number of labs, and again, students can work in those labs. Depending on what the needs are for the lab, some of them will be able to start freshman year. Some of them that you do need to have a little bit more of a background in that particular field. But students can start to work in labs then, right through sophomore, junior, senior year. So there's labs for bioacoustics. We have labs looking at climate change, labs that are working on coastal ecology, on algae, all kinds of different topics on pesticide use with Dr. Cochran. Other facilities, I'm just trying to kind of think of all of the different options that we have. So there's a lot of ability to do research both on campus, and then ultimately there's also that kind of larger network where faculty are able to help students find internships, volunteerships. Most of us are involved with other organizations. As I mentioned with what Sydney's doing in her class, I'm involved with the Peconic Estuary Partnership, as well as New York Sea Grant. I'm also heavily involved with the New York Marine Rescue Center, so a lot of my students end up working there, working at the Riverhead Aquarium. But I also have students who are working at the Cincinnati Zoo because of connections that I have in that part of the country. So again, there's a lot of different ways to get involved, both on campus and off campus.
Yeah, I wanna add on to that really quick. So Dr. Ryder is like an amazing major advisor. Like she's great. And we also have Nancy Black. She's like for all of SOMAS, and every Wednesday they send out an email called the Wednesday Wave, and it puts all of everything you could ever want to apply for on there every week. And that's really helpful for me applying for jobs and for internships in the past. That's how I've gotten to know all of my different opportunities. So it has like a section for like calendar dates in the Stony Brook calendar, and like scholarships you can apply to, and different internships or jobs you can apply to. And Dr. Ryder also upkeeps that on like our major Brightspace page, and it's just really helpful. I like really scan those like every week, and it helps a lot. So you have a lot of good people behind you in this major, especially.
So we always have a lot of questions, especially for students that are considering coming to Stony Brook from outside of New York or outside of Long Island specifically, because some parts of New York are further away than some states. But just to describe your impressions of campus life, and are people welcoming? New Yorkers can have a reputation. I don't think that's true of any of us. Any kind of impressions about the campus?
I actually have to say, I am a sea wolf, not just because I'm a faculty. I did my graduate work here at Stony Brook. And if y'all haven't figured out, I'm not a native New Yorker. I did just y'all. I actually really did find that Stony Brook was welcoming, that I was able to make a lot of good contacts, a lot of good mentors. And I loved it enough that when I got offered a position here, I stayed. So for me, it has been a good experience, but I'm going to let Sydney as an undergraduate answer this.
Yeah, your biggest thing is to put yourself out there and make those connections. There's so many ways to connect with people. Like try out a bunch of different clubs and see who you connect with the best. And that's how I really found my community and like my place per se on campus, through like the environmental club, and that helped me like gain a lot of confidence in myself, and encouraged me to try more new things, and see if I could expand my community more. And so even as a commuter, like I'm on campus like almost all the time. So I come home just to basically sleep, shower, and eat breakfast, and then I'm out the door in the morning. But it's great. I have always found that it was really welcoming as long as you put yourself out there and try to make some connections. Even on the weekends, like the environmental club has weekend events, and SB Engaged, or like the department that has a lot of like fun events, they have stuff every Friday and usually Saturdays as well. So there's always like fun events to go to and meet new people and do a craft or something. It's fun. There's people around. There's lounges in like every dorm. So there's like different game tables, and there's the club hub where there's a bunch of new games. So there's places to hang out even on the weekends too. I know people worry about it being a half commuter school. So, but I've always found things to do.
Yes, you can get involved beyond just the environmental field, that you're going to create larger networks. So I'm always excited that I am the advisor for the Garden Guild, as well as for SWIMS, the Society for Women in Marine Science, but I'm also the advisor for the Belly Dance Club. So we have kind of a wide variety of clubs. I've also been the advisor for the Circus Club. So I'm still working on my juggling skills though. But it is something to keep in mind that there's lots of different ways to get involved, and get involved in different ways, because those experiences will feed in to your skill sets. One of my students, actually, who was environmental studies, joined the Belly Dance Club mainly because she took a class with someone who was in it. And she's like, it suddenly gave her more confidence when it came to presenting her information. And she actually ended up, before she graduated, presenting at our undergraduate research symposium that she had. And she's like, I would never have done it if I hadn't done something where I, got a little bit more confidence just in presenting in general. So there's lots of different ways to learn.
Yes, and you can start something and then change and add something later. It's not like you start with one club and you can't ever do anything else. What kinds of hands-on field work or research is available? I think they mean like coursework, like classes that are fieldwork based versus lecture classes.
So we have obviously the typical lab classes in bio and chemistry that you will have. But we also have like our geospatial science classes are considered field-based classes, but those are in the computer center, typically working on kind of smaller projects of your own. We have students who are working on policy projects, on doing climate projects, planning projects. So there's lots of different courses where there is a hands-on component. Um, One of the strengths, I would argue, of SOMAS, and one of the reasons I am excited to teach with SOMAS and with environmental studies, is how much hands-on experiential learning. That has always been my background, and as someone who leads and is involved in two of the study abroad programs, the one to Tanzania and the ones to Ireland and England, I do believe the best way to learn is to actually go out and do. The lecture classes are critical because they're giving you the foundation so that you have the knowledge to then apply in those other courses. But there are lots of opportunities and lots of different ways to get that hands-on experience, both in coursework for your major, as well as through like internships and research experience.
Okay. So Sydney, any kind of final thoughts about the college experience, the journey, the stressful times, the, support, where you get it, all those, any thoughts about really anything about college? Now that you're approaching the end of undergrad?
Yeah, I really can't believe I'm at the end. Honestly, I you it gets easier over time. I remember I was like a high achieving person in high school, and then to transition into college is a big step. It's a big thing. And it takes some time to get used to, especially in those general courses that aren't things that you're necessarily super passionate about, but you gotta get through those core courses because they're just as important. So it gets easier. You learn how to do college better, I would say, over time. You learn how to reach out to people more. You build your confidence with reaching out to people more, um, and that's helped a lot. And you build your community of people, and so you have all these people behind you, and all these people you could say hi to on campus, which is really fun. And it gets easier over time, and you'll settle into what you like, and you'll figure it out. And it's really fun to try a lot of new things without being like tied down in a job. Like, because you're a student, you get that time off in the winter and summer to try all different things too. So it's really fun. I love my life as a student. I don't know what I'm gonna do once I graduate. I'll figure it out though.
The thing to keep in mind is you're not doing this journey by yourself. Here at Stony Brook, there's lots of different supports obviously within environmental studies. You're going to see lots of me. Actually, this coming Monday, we have our semester meet and greet where there will be homemade brownies. I do that every semester. We do, so that there's lots of times to interact with your faculty. You've got wonderful advising with people like Nancy Black. And again, there's a support team here to help you succeed.
And I agree. I've been at Stony Brook for 20 years. So longer than many of our audience members have been alive. And I have to say that, even as I've watched Stony Brook grow, because we have increased kind of in overall size and in the freshman class, there's been an immediate understanding that there's need for additional support, whether it's the Academic Success and Tutoring Center or the Center for Prevention and Outreach, or all of these different ways that the LGBTQ A+ Center, the ways to support every type of student, whatever their needs are, but also to provide opportunities for the fun side. Yes, it's important. You're taking college classes, they're rigorous, you have a goal, whether it's grad school, career, whatever that next step is. But there are ways to balance that with a lot of joy. And I think Stony Brook has a very welcoming community for everyone. And with that, I want to thank Tara and Sydney so much for your time this evening. Thank you so much to our guests for joining us and asking insightful questions. We wish you the best of luck with your college application journey and your decision-making process. We hope to see all of you on campus in the fall semester. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Have a good night, everyone.
Night.
Bye.